Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Americans think, just one click and the goods magically appear. But they don't realize the complexity of the network upon which they are dependent for those goods to appear at their doorstep. In addition to those sorts of issues, we obviously have, the supply chain for industry. We have connecting farmers' produce from kitchen tables, bringing logs out of the mountains to the sawmills in my state. The U.S. freight transportation network is critical to the economy of this nation. 17.7 billion tons of freight, valued at $16.8 trillion every year. But we have challenges ahead of us. By 2040, we expect volumes to grow by 40%. How are we going to meet those demands? Our existing infrastructure at capacity, nearing the end of, or in many cases has already passed its useful life, but still limping along. And how are we going to deal with this in the future? How are we going to reduce the environmental burden of the freight industry, both in terms of pollution in urban areas and also in terms of the carbon that it contributes to climate change? Medium and heavy-duty trucks contributed 23% of all transportation-related greenhouse gas emissions in 17. And I hope to hear today ideas about how we're going to reduce that burden. The freight railroads have been working to deploy technologies. They've been upgrading their fleets, reducing idling and fuel consumption, and they are obviously a more efficient per gallon, per freight mile deliverer of goods. And so they've done quite a bit, but we're going to need to do more there too. 9 billion gallons fewer between 2018, 100 million fewer tons of carbon dioxide, but can we move beyond that? I think we need to. As we'll hear in testimony today, a significant portion of freight growth and disproportionate share of the cost of freight movements comes from the last mile. We've been reading some articles about congestion in our urban areas. It's extraordinary because of this delivery, adding new burdens to an already overburdened system. And, we have to, that normally these areas were not considered integral to freight movement, but they have become so. We're going to have to figure out how we're going to deal with that. Again, the pollution, the carbon, and so forth. In the last bill, it was the first time in the FAST Act, really, that we established a dedicated funding source for freight. As important as it is, it has been neglected in terms of our investment, as has the whole system been neglected by our levels of investment. And I'm trying and hoping that we will do much better in our reauthorization. The DOT created the infra program, Nationally Significant Freight and Highway Projects Program, but it was basically all the money was snapped up, and there was a huge line of very meritorious projects waiting for funding. So, we're going to have to both tighten up the criteria for grants that are coming out of DOT, but also we're going to need to put more money into those programs. So with that, Madam Chair, I look forward to hearing from the witnesses, and thank you for holding the hearing.
Thank you, Mr. DeFazio. I'd now like to welcome our